What's up everybody, it's Kevin here from Happy Beard Games. Today is a project video. Now, I do want to point out this is just a project video, merely a showcase and a little bit of information about this controller and modifying it. It is not a tutorial video, it is not a how-to video. So if you're looking for a tutorial or how-to video, you've come to the wrong place, but you still might get some useful information about the controller on this video, and you'll get to see what it looks like after a modification. So it's not a step-by-step tutorial video, but you might get some information about it by watching this video. So if you still want to keep watching, let's jump in. Now today's video, we are talking about the 8BITDO arcade stick for Nintendo Switch. Now this controller is not only for Nintendo Switch, it also works on PC with X input. That means you can play any games on Xbox Game Pass for PC or Steam or anything else that uses X input on your PC. So you can use it for fighting games on Steam, you can use it for fighting games on your Switch. This is mainly intended for fighting games, shoot 'em ups, and any arcade classic, going all the way back to games like Pac-Man. Or pretty much anything that you'd want to attempt with an arcade-style joystick or buttons controller. So you can be a little ambitious with what games you want to play with it too. Sometimes I like to play racing games with this, and it sounds crazy, but some of the arcade racers I like to play with the joystick controller too. I was inspired by the look and design of the Japanese SEGA Saturn arcade stick, which looks really cool to me. And I really wanted to get that arcade stick controller, and while I could have gotten that arcade stick controller and just had another arcade stick, that would make it so I had like 3 or 4 different arcade sticks in my room, and they take up space. Additionally, it might have cost about the same to buy the arcade stick as it would to buy all the parts for this new arcade stick mod. And maybe even more for this because I bought the controller itself, even though it was a few years ago. I still paid $90 for the arcade stick by itself. The mod parts all cost about $50 total for just the buttons. The joystick ball topper I already had previously, so it didn't really cost me anything. It must have been about $5 or so. But as you'll see in this image that I'll show you, the SEGA Saturn arcade joystick is the inspiration for the modification of this 8BITDO controller. So all the color schemes are going to be based upon that SEGA Saturn arcade stick. Now with that in mind, you might be thinking, yeah, this is a controller for the Switch, this is a controller for PC, why are you making it look like a SEGA Saturn? Well, I recently picked up this, the Wingman SD converter from Brook. Now this is a really cool device. I believe it's the only one of its kind that allows you to not only play arcade sticks on your SEGA Saturn, it allows you to play pretty much any controller that offers either Bluetooth or USB wired on your SEGA Saturn. Additionally, this also works on the Sega Dreamcast, so I have a Dreamcast, so that's just a bonus for me. You can use, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PS5, Nintendo Switch Pro controller, USB keyboard. You can use the USB keyboard to play Typing of the Dead on your Sega Dreamcast with this converter. And I don't know why, but I've had some problems with this converter already. Either it's the converter itself, or the controller not working with the converter and the Sega Saturn, but occasionally I'll have to restart my Sega Saturn to get it to work with the controller. This is wired USB with the converter, but sometimes I have to restart it anyway. So sometimes it'll work on the Sega Saturn home menu, but it won't work in the video game. So that's kind of weird, but then eventually it will work in the video game and it'll work fully and appropriately, and everything works exactly as you'd want. So it's kind of weird. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, even on the same day. Now I gave you guys a little bit of a backstory on the controller and its parts, and I went to my inspiration being the Sega Saturn arcade stick. So let's check out the controller. Alright, here's the controller in its finished form. You see we've got all the buttons replaced. They're all working perfectly fine. I have tested them with not only my PC and my Switch, but with the Sega Saturn itself. Now, all these buttons have been replaced to green from their default stock red, and all these ones have been replaced to the new pink from their default stock red as well. And these 2 buttons on the top are smaller size buttons, but they're still Sanwa button parts, and these were originally black, but they are 24mm size blue buttons. So I got the blue, which matches the blue ball top that I replaced from the arcade 1-up, and I didn't replace the joystick yet. That might come in a future video, but I'm not sure about that yet. I didn't replace anything else. Nothing else has been changed internally. But I've got the buttons here, which are Sanwa, and these ones are green, these ones are blue. So all these are replaced. Altogether, it took about half an hour to do this. Once I opened it up, and started putting in the buttons and taking out the other buttons and stuff like that. It was just a step-by-step process of one button to the next, one button to the next, you know, putting them in, taking them out, putting them in, taking them out, putting them in, just over and over on the inside of this controller. Now once you get like inside this controller, there's only actually 6 screws you take out with a T10 screwdriver, which is a star-shaped screwdriver. You might actually be able to use a T8 screwdriver, which is what I use. For some reason the T8 actually worked on this, even though it's recommended to use a T10 style screwdriver. Now once you get inside this controller in the back, you're gonna see it's very neat and organized. Everything's labeled and all the wires are like really nicely organized inside this, and they made it very easy to mod. Now with this project I had to do 0 soldering and 0 cutting of the actual controller. There was no cutting or soldering involved in this project. It was merely buying the buttons and finding a joystick ball top, screwing in the ball top, and then with the buttons taking them out and putting in the new ones, which is basically you snap them into the tray, the actual plastic, and then once they're in there, you take out 2 little wires and then you put the 2 wires in. These are plug-in wires, these are not soldered wires, they're just little connectors that you pop in and out. Now they are very difficult to pop in and out, especially on these first 2 that I did, which are up here. These are the ones I started with, and they were the hardest to do because they're a little bit smaller on the sides, of course. So it was kind of difficult, you know, at first. I've never done a project like this before. I've never replaced buttons on an arcade stick or arcade machine, so I didn't know what to do. I really recommend using a guide plus a video guide. So you want like a good, like solid tutorial plus a tutorial video, so you really know what's going on before you start doing a project like this. And if you need to, I'll recommend you some videos that I used when I worked on this project myself. So these are not my videos, but they're other videos that will help you out a lot, I think. Alright, let's wrap things up. Today we checked out the arcade stick from 8BITDO, which is called the 8BITDO arcade stick for Nintendo Switch and PC using X input. Now additionally, we're using this on a SEGA Saturn because we have the SEGA Saturn adapter from Brook and the Wingman Converter SD. Alright, now that my project's complete, I've got the arcade stick by 8BITDO, I've got a replaced joystick ball topper and awesome Sanwa buttons in different colors. And I think this project was a success. We had a lot of fun doing this project. It took time, it was tedious, it was kind of hard at parts. But for the reward that I got from the payoff, it's definitely worth it. So I really recommend that if you have this controller and you're interested at all in modding it, even if you're just going to replace the buttons with Sanwa buttons, or something very simple like replacing the ball topper of the joystick, I highly recommend that you check it out and give it a try on your own. Remember to look up tutorials, not just a text tutorial, but a video tutorial as well, and I can give you links to the ones that I use myself to help me with this project. But like I said at the beginning, this is not a how-to, this is not a tutorial video itself. This is just a project that I wanted to share with you guys. Maybe it'll inspire some of you guys to try something different with your arcade sticks or your controllers at home. And for the most part, this was an awesome experience. It was fun to make, fun to build, fun to get the parts, and it turned out great. So I'm super excited with this controller. I'm ready to play some more Street Fighter and other classic arcade games. Alright everybody, thanks for watching Happy Beard Games once again. Please stay tuned for more classic gaming goodness right here on Happy Beard Games. Remember, you can leave me a like, share with your friends, leave me a comment down below. Subscribe today for more classic gaming goodness. And you can check out my Ko-fi page for donations. Alright everybody, thanks for watching once again. Bye!